We start with this story. There is an alarming rate of GBV case withdrawals by victims, especially women, according to the Commission for Gender Equality. This as the Commission examined the readiness of police stations to deal with GBV cases. They visited 66 police stations countrywide, including 13 of the 30 GBV hotspots identified between March and September last year. Javu Baloyi speaks for the CGE and joins me now. Good evening and welcome to you, Javu. Concerning findings these, what are the reasons the cases you are talking about are being withdrawn?
Thank you, Imana, and good evening to the viewers of SABC. Some of the reasons that are being mentioned in the report and by the people that are withdrawing the cases is the lack of trust that they have within our police and law enforcement agencies. The long drawn out cases because of lack of DNA test kits and rape kits in some instances, although in some places they are there, but the DNA as a catalyst that can help put these perpetrators away, it's not forthcoming. What we're hearing is a statement that, we are dealing with a backlog day in and day out. And other aspect, what comes on, it's the secondary victimization, that it's there. When somebody goes to the police station, the service that they receive and the interpersonal skills of our law enforcement agencies in some instances, it's not up to the level that is, befitting to be dealing with some of these cases. Everyone else can be handling the GBV case, and it's not supposed to be the case. We have to have the dedicated people in the police, hence people end up withdrawing cases. You will be shocked where a person will go to a police station, they're asked to go and serve the protection order to their perpetrators. And the reason being given, it's police vans that are not there. How do you then go to the same person who's abusing you and say, what, the police said I must come and save you? And yet we see the police passing, even when there's load shedding, you see them, hooting, moving up and down. Are they there for the community people? And that's the question that, we ought to answer for ourselves and ask ourselves question, why are police visible enough? Are they doing enough for the gender-based violence victims and survivors?
Well, it certainly doesn't sound like they are. And we hear time and time again about, sensitivity training, about beefing up the protocol in dealing with victims of violence in the police stations and certainly at police station level. Doesn't seem to be working. So what next then?
What needs to be done, they need to work with, and one thing that I must put a disclaimer, this report was not a witch hunt on the police, but it was for us to identify cracks and come with a tangible solution for them. One of them that, they must move with speed is to engage institutions like the Commission for Gender Equality, civil society organization, Human Rights Commission and others institutions to say some of these the new recruits, do they even know the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa? Do they know the Bill of Rights? When they go to the field, what then happens? Because, they need to be taught in the things that are happening now. We also are aware that the police themselves, they came forward to us to say, we have got a challenge in writing affidavit with some of our law enforcers. Some of them also, there are criminal elements within the ranks and the file of the police, and that was said by the minister himself. So, do you think, Imana, in the right mind, a police officer assigned a gender-based violence case, and is an abuser himself, will he take that case serious? Is it not? It's not just suppose that it's talking to him as a person who has been doing these things. So there are a lot of issues that we must move with. Some that don't need money, they can need us as a Commission for Gender Equality and Civil Society to say, here are the gaps. We know where the gaps. We need to work with the police. Remember, we have subpoenaed them before. We have called them, and I'm glad they even acknowledged that the training might not be the best training that they're receiving the police. Yes, what do we do from here? They need to sit down and look at the structure. So some of these kids who are going to training, it's police serving. It's not one of the passion. They were likely to get to be taken as a recruit because there's not job opportunities. But are they willing to go the extra mile and serve the people of South Africa in so far as gender-based violence is concerned? And without not
the opportunities that you are suggesting suggesting, as you say, some of them are free and some of them are really, really basic. It just makes you wonder why the department, why the police ministry, why the SABC training colleges are not focusing on what can be really easy wins at building trust and providing safe havens for victims of crime, instead of then secondarily re-traumatizing them. I want to come to some of the reasons that we started out in the beginning, which are deterrents for people pursuing their cases. We talked about briefly delays at the forensic laboratories, but also family members are deciding to deal with domestic violence matters within the family. And then there's also the other big problem that it's difficult for victims to access the courts.
Yes, most definitely. And the drawback in our country is that families, remember there was almost 933 kids. I won't say teenagers. There are kids who gave birth around Gauteng in the last financial year. Though some of these kids, when we asked them, the family members said we'll sort it amongst ourselves. Some of these people are breadwinners, they are threatening. You'll find meetings after meeting, and that is justice denied and justice derailed, because the repeat offenders are there. You will see time and again, families will protect people when they've done wrong, and because once you say, it's a societal issue to say, when I've done wrong, we're quick to defend. Anyone, Iman, who has done anything wrong, including myself, I shouldn't be protected until I face the full mighty law and access to justice. The courts are in far-flung provinces like Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape. We need to have satellite police stations. We need to have satellite courts. During the World Cup 2010, we had some of these satellite courts, and the NPA can have these courts in rural areas where people can be dealt with decisively. We have seen in Oscar Pistorius' case, it took the Department of Justice, NPA, and whoever was involved 6 months to prosecute. Vumile Jezile in Eastern Cape, 6 months to prosecute. Why does it have to take long for cases of gender-based violence? We know in certain provinces they've got more than 30,000 cases. And do you think that, there's hope for the victims of gender-based violence to get justice in that state? And they come back to the Commission for Gender Equality. You come back to us as a commission and outline various programs. You engage with us. You say, go to the police. When you're done with that, there's nothing for us. What do we do going forward? And that's why we're saying to the police, we will end up being in harm's way. We're doing what is right there. But the police, even the magistrate and judges, they prosecute on cases that are tangible. Why do you send novices to investigate gender-based violence cases? Why do a police, dismantle good teams? Like the one that happened recently in Gauteng, there was a good team which looked at the gender-based violence case, but you will hear they will be dismantled. What happened to the team that investigated Oscar Pistorius' case? Those are the teams that need to be kept to say, we will trust on you. Go to Palm Ridge Magistrate Court now. Almost 30,000 cases are sitting there. It's postponed. People are getting let free because, we don't take these gender-based violence cases serious. It's not being prioritized. We'll talk about it rhetorically in second pandemics, yet we go to the ground. People said we are our last hope. It's a funny story, is that when people go to the police now, they phone the Gender Commission throughout the 9 offices. They said, we are going to the police. Please monitor the case for us before it falls off the crack. And that is an indictment on the police. Something needs to be done.
And it certainly, again, is another pointer to a lack of political will, which you're talking about there, and also just having agency and a real heart for doing the work of policing in South Africa. Thank you for talking to us and sharing your perspective on what you have found. Certainly another conversation needs to be had then with those in government as to why these dots, so to speak, are not being connected. Thank you very much to Javu Baloyi.